Hi everyone, Sarah Orr with UT Extension in Cott County here to talk to you a little bit today about roses. So, roses are a popular plant in our home landscape simply because most of them make beautiful shrubs when they're not blooming, and when they're blooming, they're absolutely gorgeous. They come in every color, shape, and size that you can imagine, which makes them a very popular plant among our homeowners in East Tennessee. There are a couple of things I wanted to hit on, just some general tips about caring for your roses. The first of which is sunlight. Okay, sunlight. Roses really like full sun. They need 6 to 8 hours of sun a day, easily. Preferably morning sun, because morning sun allows the leaves to dry off and promotes good, healthy roses. We also need to plant our roses in a hospitable environment, meaning the soil. So don't plant them right next to the driveway or things of that sort. Make sure you're planting them in good, well-drained soil. And in some cases, in parts of our county, we may need to add amendments to the soil to make it the most hospitable for our roses. And that's perfectly fine and acceptable. We want to make sure that they have plenty of organic matter and that it is well-drained, of course. Is that they do need fertilize. So the best time to fertilize a rose is right before we see the flush of leaves in the springtime, because that gives them a boost. And then roses are a plant that we don't just fertilize one time a year. After every flush of blooms, we want to go ahead and fertilize them one more time, because that encourages more blooms throughout the summer. So as you can see, the rose bush behind me has just finished its first flush of blooms, and it was absolutely beautiful about a week ago. And so what we need to do now is we need to come in with some fertilize, whether that's Miracle Grow or a similar type component. It's your typical all-purpose homeowner plant growth stimulant. And come in and fertilize that. And we'll do that after each flush of blooms to help encourage it to bloom all through the summer. We, however, need to stop that about 6 weeks before the first frost. And in Cott County, our anticipated first frost is somewhere in the neighborhood of the middle to the third week of October. So around the 1st of September, we need to stop fertilizing our roses, because the last thing we want them to do is be putting all their energy into continuing to bloom when they need to be hardening off to make it through the winter. Roses also really like water. They really like water. So a lot of us, me included, tend to not do the greatest job about watering our plants on a regular basis. We get distracted or we get busy with something else, and sometimes we forget. But it's really important that we do regular, deep watering of our roses. And so I'm really bad about watering just for a little bit the roses that I have in my garden, and that actually is not a good thing. We want to make sure that we're doing deep watering, because deep watering promotes deep root growth. And so when we get on up in the summer and it starts to get hotter and it starts to get drier, if we've done that shallow watering just a little bit, whether it's frequently or infrequently, promotes shallow root growth. And when we have shallow root growth, our roses are more susceptible to drought and hot, dry periods that we for sure get here in East Tennessee. So deep watering can help alleviate some of the water stresses that will come with our roses as well. Another way to make sure that they have plenty of water is to mulch them. And a lot of people will use mulch in their gardens as a way to conserve moisture and as a way to reduce weed pressure. All of those things are great. That is that's very encouraged among our roses as well. We do say leave a little bit of space, leave a couple of inches between the base of the rose, the actual stem, and the mulch. We don't want to do volcano mulching, where we put the mulch all the way up against the trunk of the rose, because what we'll see happen then is it retains that moisture and it keeps the stem of that rose damp and wet, and that can promote some of our stem cankers, some of our root rot, and that kind of thing. We want to make sure that we leave just a little bit of space so that trunk, that stem of that rose can dry out for sure. Disease pressure. The unfortunate part about roses is they are susceptible to a lot of insects and diseases. What I always encourage people to do, read the plant tag before you purchase the plant, whether it's a rose, no matter what plant it is that you're adding to your home garden and your landscape. Read the plant tag, find the ones that have some resistance. That'll make it easier for you to have a successful planting and enjoy that plant for many years to come, especially with our roses. In East Tennessee, we tend to have a lot of Japanese beetle damage on our roses. We tend to see things like rose rosette, and And you'll see a couple of posts on our Facebook about rose rosette coming up in a couple of days, because that's something we're going to hit on. If at any point you see something on your rose that looks abnormal, discoloring of leaves, insect damage, holes in the leaves, something just looks a little off, call your local extension office. That's what we're here for. We want to help you identify what those problems are and prevent them if we possibly can. Okay? So that's just a couple of tips, a couple of tricks that we have for making sure that you grow great roses in your garden and your landscape. Again, if you have any questions about roses or other home garden and home landscape plants and techniques, feel free to give us a call at the extension office, reach out to us on Facebook or by email. We're here to help. We can't wait to work with you.